Welcome to Season 2 of the Blister and Muck podcast. I'm Jenny Mason, your host and the creator of the Blister and Muck series. This season is going to be over the top. The big top, that is. How do I know? Let's just say I have circumstantial evidence. Fact is, a circus is coming to Blackrust, which, as we all know, is the worst place for a circus to be. When we left off, someone was using electric traps to capture animals. Maybe it was Orville Whitmore, the zoo's director, hoping to vamp up his animal collection. Maybe it was Vexler Q. Drummel, a whip-cracking animal trainer trying to turn a profit with street-side performances. Some of the abducted animals disappear briefly, only to return dazed and addled. And if addled is a new word for you, it means completely confused, or more literally, puddle-brained. As you may recall, Blister rescued Muck from one of those shocking traps, not because he cared about the life of another creature, but because he saw opportunities to obtain more food if he had an apprentice. And let's face it, the pitiable Silver Whisker desperately needed to learn some survival skills from a bona fide Tufttail. This week, we catch up with the rats as squirrel physicians arrive at the bell tower to treat secret agent spy pigeon Horchata. When she and her partner, secret agent Seltzer, investigated the Dr. Van Sangfroid traps as a favor to Blister, Horchata wound up trapped. She was taken away to who knew where and resurfaced in that flummoxed, zombie-like state. Were she a duck and not a pigeon, I suppose you could say Horchata was all quacked up. Regardless of what we call her condition, she needs medical treatment. My producers are telling me to stop being a comedy hen and get on with the show. Of course I shall comply. As the host, I am but a crane on the construction site, doing all the heavy lifting. But I do think it's only proper we take one small, serious moment to stop and realize just how lucky we are that Horchata is a pigeon and not a parrot. Think about it. Had she been a parakeet or a cockatiel, or a kakapo, or a macaw, we'd have been forced to deal with a polygon. Episode 1: The Contraption. By consenting to Madame Putresca's request to house both spy pigeons in the bell tower, Muck did more than merely add bodies to a living space. He inadvertently altered the routines that he and Blister had grown accustomed to. Instead of spending the morning playing with Spindle, the rats made way for Doctors Stowe, Stash, and Bunker, who visited the cathedral to treat Horchata's eternally dazed condition. More often than not, the squirrels wound up treating Seltzer's eternal anxiety for Horchata's dazed condition. And rather than exhaust all daylight together practicing city survival skills, Blister and Muck diverged. Muck went to Putresca's caverns to learn martial arts, as well as to help with the influx of creatures avoiding capture in the camouflaged electric traps. Meanwhile, Blister traveled to Jana's junk castle, where a big, boxy machine had joined the taxidermy menagerie in the library. It was warty with knobs, buttons, and dials. Electrical wires and cables looped and leaked from its sides. The one thick cable feeding power to the machine snaked out of the library and connected to a power source elsewhere in the darker, unknown realms of the Junkie Castle. Jana called the contraption a neurocognitive peritial serum extractor. As she fitted Blister with a cap made of woven leather straps that buckled under his chin, she explained in her usual energetic way, "Peritial is Latin for skills and abilities. Serum is liquid in the body." She whirled to a chalkboard, erased some of its equation clusters, and drew what looked like lumpy spiders. "Leading medical researchers theorize that all brains are full of stringy tissues called neurons, which act like electrical wires and produce cognition." "What's cognition?" Blister asked as she labeled the lumpy spiders neurons. "It means thinking, dreaming, and learning," Jana said. Even though Blister thought these notions were rubbish, and even though Jana's wild enthusiasm fatigued him yet again, he nodded as if interested. The basket cap bristled with metal prongs that dug at Blister's head from all angles. To the outer tip of each prong, Jana attached slim wires, which braided together into a single cable that connected to the contraption. The task demanded Jana's focus. Thankful for the silence, Blister studied the enormous portrait on the wall opposite his seat. In it, a woman sat stiff-backed on the edge of a throne-like wooden chair. Her red hair piled on her head in elegant twists, all netted with pearls. She wore a lacy, jewel-encrusted dress. Beside her stood a red-haired girl, also stiff-backed and clad in ornate finery. Both mother and daughter, for that is what Blister assumed them to be, neither smiled nor frowned. Even so, the portrait painter had cleverly crammed a whole universe of yearning inside their large, bright eyes. The mother folded her hands on her lap. The daughter rested her hand on the mother's knee. Blister wondered why the mother didn't cradle the child's hand in hers. Abruptly, Jana switched the contraption on. Its high-pitched "foom" tugged Blister's attention away from the painting. The meters lit up and other lights blinked. "This cap," Jana said, "will gather your thoughts, dreams, and hopes. The neurocognitive peritial serum extractor will process them into tangible artifacts." She indicated another cable strung between the machine and an enclosed funnel sealing off the top of a large glass jar. Evidently to fill that jar with his thoughts, dreams, and hopes, all Blister had to do was think. "About what?" he asked. "Just think," Jana said. So he sat there a long time, thinking about how he didn't know what to think about. The machine did not respond. The jar remained empty. He thought how relieved he was to not see the frightful old fellow quivering in the corner. The machine did not respond. The jar remained empty. He thought about all the mournful moans, creaks, and groans inside the dilapidated castle. Again, the machine did not respond, and the jar did not fill with thoughts. Jana watched the needles on the meters as they moved. She scribbled notes. She adjusted a knob or a dial. Sometimes she pushed a button and scribbled more notes. The jar was still empty at the end of that first day, but Jana was true to her word and rewarded Blister with a creamy soup she'd picked up from one of Blackrust's finest restaurants. Blister slurped down as much as he could, wishing he could take the leftovers home. The next day, the jar remained empty, despite the many riddles and puzzles Jana gave Blister to solve. The day after that, she gave him a jigsaw puzzle to put together. But still, the jar went empty. Nonetheless, Blister always received an edible reward. Fancy potatoes smothered in a French sauce, a bundt cake slathered in gelatinous pineapple, even a platter of veggie-stuffed pasties. Sometimes Jana cursed at the machine. Other times, she grumbled at Blister. For his part, Blister found it extremely difficult to think for a long time about anything, given the many distractions available. For instance, one day a delivery truck puttered up the driveway. Braithwaite's securities swirled in fancy cursive across the sides of the cargo hold. The truck parked in a gravel-paved lot at the backside of the castle. The library tower sat higher than the gravel lot, allowing Blister a bird's-eye view of the deliveries through a slender window in the round tower. A set of double doors in the backside of the castle swung open, and several women in pale blue pinafores emerged from the estate. Blister shifted with surprise. Jana tracked his gaze through the window. "Pay no attention to that," she said as she blocked his view. "Just servants unloading the daily deliveries." "Deliveries of what?" He shifted on his seat to see around her. "The usuals, clean linens, polished silverware, you know." "I didn't know anyone else was here." "Easy to think so in a huge place like this," she said. The delivery trucks came often, and even when Jana did not stand before the window, the most Blister observed from his lofty angle was the transfer from truck to castle of square crates or boxes draped with cloths. The servants seemed to have been employed solely for the job of opening the doors and unloading the trucks, because Blister never saw them at work anywhere else in the darkened mansion. He recalled how at the townhouse on Atramental Avenue, servants beetled through all the rooms with dusters, rags, polish, buckets, and scrub brushes. Certainly no cleaning ever took place on Tenebrous Hill. And they definitely did not disperse the daily deliveries. Everything remained unchanged in its continuously neglected and rotting position. Besides the mysterious deliveries and seemingly lazy servants, Blister also found plenty of distractions in Jana's odd behavioral outbursts. Once, while she adjusted the knobs on the machine, she tucked her hands suddenly into her armpits and began to scratch the floor with her foot, like a chicken grubbing for food. Another time, while buckling the leather basket cap to Blister's head, she threw her head back and howled. After every outburst, Jana either apologized, exceedingly embarrassed, or else she tried to pass off the behavior as something perfectly normal for a human to do. Blister chalked up her odd behavior to too much time spent in a crusty castle surrounded by stuffed animal carcasses. Later, as he paced across the bell tower, he wondered what Muck would make of her behavior. The low sunlight filtered through the city smog, shifting tints from weak lime to aged celery. Spindle removed bug bits from his web and made repairs to the sticky strings. The afternoon newspaper stretched between Seltzer and Horchata. It was in their spying nature to keep current with all the happenings. As Seltzer skimmed the articles, he often exclaimed words or phrases which evidently reeked of suspicion or criminality. "Elected to the board." He read on. "Documents." He nodded and read on, finding sinister significance in the mentions of meetings, a bicycle, and a fishing license. After another pause to read, he belted, "Oh, ho, ho! Signatures!" Between these allegations, Horchata sometimes pecked at a photograph. Seltzer would shift his miserly focus to the picture, saying, "We should remember that face, horchata?" Or, "Now you've found a really juicy bit of information." "How do you know she's really communicating with you?" Blister asked, while Horchata pecked holes in the comic strips. "Dr. Stowe says so. He said there's a chance she's fully aware but cannot speak. He says we should be extra perceptive to her behaviours." "And you believe him?" "I don't need the doctor's orders to know she's communicating," Seltzer snitted. "Horchata and I make a team. We are of one mind. For instance, were Horchata well enough to work, I wouldn't need to pace around, wondering when she might come home. I'd know it instinctively. That's how in sync we are." "You think I'm waiting for Muck?" Blister scoffed as he edged away from the path his pacing wore into the stones. "I'm just ruminating." He made sure to pick a word with sufficient weight. "I see that," Seltzer said. As the pigeon resumed reading, Blister forged a new pacing path near a window. Horchata either gazed into infinity or spied on the dust motes. "Strange that her behavior hasn't communicated who or what addled her," Blister said. "She could never do that. It would violate the code of the secret agent," Seltzer replied. "Oh, of course," Blister said. Then, "What's that?" "It's the oath all pigeons take when we are officially inducted into the Order of Observers. You cannot share with your fellow agents any knowledge gathered while spying." Blister tilted his head. "Wouldn't you want to tell another agent what you saw or overheard? That way someone else would have the information in case something happened to you." Seltzer took his turn to scoff. "In our line of work, facts, information, observations are dangerous. Secrets are weapons that cut in both directions. Get it?" Blister indicated he did not get it. "If only I possess the secrets I find, then only I can tell them. I may be captured and tortured and forced into telling them, but that will not injure other pigeons. If I shared the secrets I uncovered with Horchata, then both of us may be captured and forced to reveal all." "So," Blister worked at the pigeon's equation, "it's better to keep information contained? Restricted?" "Now you're talking like a secret agent," Seltzer grinned. Blister wanted to say he felt as though he were talking like a loon, but he heard Muck's panting in the stairwell. "Anybody up there? I'm home, and I bring an undeniably uplifting update." Once in the bell tower, Muck displayed a sheet of paper creased with fold lines and smudged with a muddy paw print. "What is it?" Blister asked. "It's a letter from Grr, of course. Madame Putresca shared it with me." Muck bounced on his toes. He traced the mud smear with his claw. "See how jocosely joyful she is?" "How can you tell?" "Oh, Blister," Muck chuckled as he presented the letter to Seltzer and Horchata. "You and your jaunty jests." What a great surprise to hear from Grr. Gosh, Seltzer and Horchata sure are a couple of peculiar birds, aren't they? Speaking of oddballs, Lady Jana kinda goats off the deep end, doesn't she? But perhaps we're treating her the way people in the past treated Nikola Tesla. I mean, maybe we're being judgmental. If judgmental is a new word for you, it describes whenever we are fault-finding. That is, out to find problems or only see things in a critical light. Like Goldilocks. That girl was super judgmental.
This food is too hot. This furniture is too small. This home security system is too flimsy because I broke into this bear house. No problemo.
So the lesson we learn from Goldie is, say it with me, don't break into other people's or animals' homes because that's not a healthy way to fulfill our emotional shortcomings. Tune in next week to find out if that contraption bursts Blister's bubble again, or if it makes his dreams come true. You'll never miss an episode when you subscribe at blisterandmuck.com. If you're viewing the website on a phone, swipe up and look for the orange subscribe button beneath the recent episodes. Tap that button and enter your email. I am so excited to announce that you can also peruse Blister and Muck merchandise while you're at the website. Simply tap or click Support the Show and check out the amazing shirts, hats, tote bags, and face masks. A portion of every purchase helps keep this show running. Your contribution enables me to continually bring quality storytelling to young people and families whose lives may otherwise be in turmoil during these unprecedented global crises. And I enclose a special surprise with every order. I am very grateful to Basin Printing for setting up the online store. Basin is a local print shop here in the Rocky Mountain town I call home. They craft and ship every item with care and attention. For a limited time, listeners can get 15% off the entire order. Simply enter the promotional code BAM at checkout. That's BAM as in Blister and Muck. Special thanks to composer Roland Rudzitis for serving up the Blister and Muck theme song. Additional music from Kevin MacLeod and Mon Plaisir. The Birds and the Bells are courtesy of Dad, SHB 1489, and Barkanov at freesound.org. Electrical contraption sounds from That Jeff Carter and Waker 1. Also from freesound.org, Reconsider 59 rustled the newspaper. I am always thankful for my family, friends, and fans. One for one, and all for you.